main things you get in your mind? Generally, whenever somebody talks about Java language, what are the features you get in your mind if you have heard about it? If you know, it's okay. If you don't know, also I'll discuss that. Have you, like, all these years you have been hearing about Java? So, what is the major feature you have heard? Means what you can do after learning this Java language?
Projects are we work on coding in the companies, which is
Okay,
useful.
okay. Other than that, generally the core features. If I'm talking about the features of Java, what will be the highlighted feature? Like if you talk about C, immediately comes in your mind pointers, structures, arrays. We come across some topics. Means what kind of features or what kind of concepts we may learn using Java. Okay, you don't have an idea? No issues about that. So generally, whenever we talk about Java language, the most common word which we learn across is object orientation. Because in Java language, whenever we code, we are going to code purely using object orientation concept only. So what is this object orientation? We'll discuss anyhow. Means whenever you write a coding, we'll think of a real-time object. Means your apps which you're developing will be revolving around real-time entities. Just think like your banking application. If you're talking about a banking applications, what are the entities? What are the information? What are the objects? What are the real-time things who are using the banking application? Who are all involved in the banking applications? Can I say the customers? Can I say the employees? Can I say the admin will use a banking application? Can I just think like this? Whenever I talk about banking app, any banking app, what all things we can think about is that app can be used by a customer, that app can be used by an employee of the bank, or the admin of the bank, or somebody who's a higher professional. Or can we talk about something like banking details, like we can say accounts? Can we talk about something like checkbooks? Can we talk about something like cards, various types of cards? Can we do this? So when you talk about a banking app itself, you have so many things to do. You can talk about loans, you can talk about insurances if they provide. So all these things looks like individual entities. Entities, or we call them as an object, customer. Something or the other they will store about a customer, their customer details, customer name, customer mobile address, lot of details. So that means every detail about or a real-time object we can store inside an application. Application is used to do that. So whenever you develop an app, definitely a lot of objects are involved in that application usage. So such objects you can simply think like checkbooks also. Checkbook also is an object of some type only. So whenever you talk about an object, you'll definitely find a lot of information associated to each object. When you talk about a card, pick up a card. It'll have a card number, it'll have a CVV number, it have a expiry date, it will have some, what do you say, the person's name imprinted on that, bank name. So many things are printed on this. Every object will have a lot of information, and using objects. Only two things we have to remember for object orientation concept. Every object which we are using in a software world will consist of some information. That means some data, and using that object will be doing some operations on it. So definitely every object we are going to use in software world, and you're going to interact with the in digital world, and by doing some operations. Like if I have a card, we can insert a card scanning. That means card will get scanned. Then it will interact with your account details. So a lot of things will be done with the softwares using these kind of objects. So whenever we talk about object orientation, think about a entity. Like card book, what is it? Card is an object, checkbook is an object, loan is an object. Means everything is a complex structure. So everything will consist of lot of data associated to it, and we will definitely use it. Like some operations will do on such objects like loan, apply for a loan, pay the installments, or we say pay the interest, find the last date, lot of operations there. So this concept is called as object orientation. And whenever we write a Java program, we will later definitely focus on this concept. Initially, whilst beginning the concepts, we may not focus on object orientation because we have to learn the concepts, basic concepts. Before we enter into the object orientation, we'll be learning a lot of topics or a lot of chapters are there, like data types, or we talk about some operators, or we talk about decision making, controls, or we talk about functions, or we also call it as methods here in Java. We have something like arrays, we have something like strings. So, some basic concepts we are definitely going to learn in the beginnings right now. In the beginning time, we are not going to discuss about objects. So once we finish all these basic chapters only, we'll directly go into this topic called as object orientation. So till that time, our main focus will be writing a simple Java program and just write a program to store a data, to process a data, calculation, computation, showing the output on the screen, using some operators, taking some decisions, using loops to iterate, to repeat something again and again, and writing our code inside a function or a method so that we can recall it again and again, and storing a collection of data in an array format or storing a collection of data in a text format like a string we say. So these all things we'll be learning first, and then only we'll enter into the object orientation. Fine. So next thing what we have to discuss about Java is first feature is object orientation. Now the second foremost important feature is it's like a most robust language. A lot of languages have come, Python and other, but they're not as robust as Java. When you compare Java with Python and other languages, this is more robust. Robust means it's like strong. It will never break down. When you're running a Java application, it will never break down in the middle of the application execution. So there are some features which will make Java programming language robust. So one of the most important concept is exception handling. Like exception with some problems. Whenever you develop a program or a code, definitely we can expect some errors. Like simply if I write this kind of a calculation also, if you run this calculation, you may expect an error at runtime. So that means if user enters 0 for the b value, numerator can be anything, but by mistake, if these values taken as 0, this will create a definitely a problem only. So division is not possible. So this is called as error, or we say it's actually called as an exception. So whenever we have some issues in a program execution, program should immediately terminate. It cannot move further to the next levels. So such scenarios can be handled. Means we can write a solution in such a way that even if there is a problem, if there is a problem occurs in the middle of execution, we can solve it. We can just try to remove the error from the system so that the program will run still smoothly as if nothing has happened. So this concept is called as exception handling. And Java has a strong exception handling mechanism. So this is a completely one chapter in which we will learn how to write a coding, how to protect the coding using exception handling mechanism. There are different concepts in exception handling, and there are different libraries to support exception handling. So because of that, at least we can say Java is very robust, because once you write a code, we'll protect the code using exception handling mechanism, by which definitely it will come as a robust programming. Second most important feature which will make your Java programming robust is the softwares which you are using in Java execution. So that means Java coding will be run or uses two softwares. One is called as a Java compiler, and the next one is called as an interpreter. So generally when you are learning C language, because I think you are EC students, triple E or EC?
ECE, ma'am.
EC, no? So
CSC.
definitely you would have done, okay. So all of you would have learned about compilers, no? You have used C compilers or whatever languages you have learned, definitely will be dealing with this software, compiler. So compiler is a software which translates the whole code into the next level. Just it translates. So .C code to .object code, dot Java code to dot class code, some conversions are done. So the whole code will be translated at once into another code, another level of code. That is compiling. But the interpreter, what it does is it will translate line by line. It is not going to convert the whole code into the next level. So interpreter's job is to do line by line translation and then conversion to machine level so that machine can execute it. So this is line by line executions, translation and immediate executions we can see with the help of this software. So because of this software is also called as JVM. In Java, we are using a software called Java Virtual Machine, which is nothing but a interpreter. So because of this, what happens is whenever you run a code, JVM has a strong mechanism or with a strong architecture. Because of this JVM strong architecture of checking, so whatever you run on this software, it will undergo some checking process. Is the code correct or not? Is it following all the norms of Java language or not? Has it used some malicious code? If anything found wrong in that particular code, the interpreter will not run the code anymore. It will immediately terminate. So this software will run only as long as the code is correct. If something it's trying to access your what do you say operating system C drive or some drives, it won't give a permission also. So a lot of checking will be done about the virus code or some illegal code or something which will be not acceptable in your operating system. So this checking will be done by JVM. So code checking, bytecode checking, security checking. So a lot of checks it has to pass through. So the code which is run by the interpreter, it's already validated properly. Only then it will get executed on the system. So because of the interpreter, my program is again I can say becomes next level of strong. That means it's again robust right now. And there's one more topic which is making its robustness. If you look at the concept of pointers, if you had learned in C language also, you would know that it's a difficult topic. Why difficult? Coding, syntaxes, it's more complex. So dot, star, you get confused. But not about the confusion, it's about the access. What does the pointer talk about is they access memories. Which memories? Any memory. It can access any region in the RAM. It can be used to access any part of your hard disk. That means in your operating system, in your computer, it can reach to any part of your system. Means with that, is it breaching your security issues right now? Means if I use a pointer in a programming, definitely using that pointer, I can reach to any part. So your data can be hacked. So pointers are not supported in Java because they are not reliable. They are able to access any part of the system anywhere, hard disk for RAM, programming memory, or the hard disk permanent memory. So total concept of pointers is removed, which will make a program weaker in terms of coding, everything. So this topic is totally removed, right? So using all these concepts, we can may say that Java has become robust. And when you compare with Python also, you can get that concept that it's definitely better than Python in terms of security concepts. That's the reason still people are developing apps in Java. The only drawback is coding is more, but definitely coding will learn. And after that, we'll have libraries to take you use the predefined logics and we can start developing the code faster. The next important feature, what would be in Java is multi-threading. So multitasking is one of the most required jobs everywhere. Everybody is looking for. So that means nobody will like to do one job at one time. Means if you have opened a Book My Show something, some app, you don't want that only one customer should log into that and then book a ticket and log out, then only second customer. So we want that a lot of people should access the same application, run it at a time simultaneously. So all of them should run an app equally. That means parallelly. So such concepts we can develop using a concept called as multi-threading. The best example of multi-threading is a tab. If I just open a tab, you can just see that I can open multiple things here. So I can download a Java software here. So that means I'm opening one, what is a browser only. I didn't open multiple browsers. I just opened one browser, but in one tab, I'm downloading this Java software. In another tab, I can download the Python software. So that means, are the downloads happening one after the other, or will they happen simultaneously right now?
Silent.
Silent.
Simultaneously. So that means app is one, software is one. That means I open just one edge window, and in that end, I have taken two tabs. Both the tabs are working, and because of this single application, multiple executions. App is one, but it is doing how many tasks? Two downloads at a time. But is it happening in two different apps or a single app?
Two different tabs.
No, I'm just opening one window only, no? One Chrome, or we just run the application once. Chrome is one. And in that Chrome, what did we do? Two tabs. Both the tabs belong to the same Chrome.
Yeah. Yes.
So that means these are just threads, we can say. Thread means a part of execution, something like branches of a tree. So if this is the main tree, these are just like branches. So everything which is running on the tab, it also belongs to what? The main Chrome window only. But only thing is diversions are done. So because of diversions, within one app only, two downloads are happening. So processor need not run in two apps. We don't have to open two apps and download done in two different apps. Because if I open two apps, more memory is consumed. That is the first drawback. And second thing is the performance will be slow because processor has to jump from one app to another app because they are not running in one area. So they will be using more space and more time to execute that downloads right now. Instead of that, we'll use less memory by opening once the app, and within the tab, opening two tabs. That's like threads, we say. Threads is nothing but within one process, minor diversions, partitions done. So my processing is done in two parts within the same application. And this will help you to do multitasking. So within the same process, we are able to do multiple tasks at a time without any difference. Both downloads are happening parallelly, by which within 2 minutes you can say both downloads are done. If I open two different windows and do one after the other, it takes 4 minutes. So time consumption is also less here. Within short period, we are able to do both the downloads. So we can do multiple tasks at a time. Just think like if you have opened a Word and you just keep on like you're typing on this. So when I'm opening a Microsoft Word, MS Office Word, and I was just typing, whenever I leave my hand, what happens immediately? It starts correcting in the background. It will do the auto correction as well as it will do the auto saving also. So we are not here to type and then say Control S and then say auto correction as a correction manually. So whenever we stop doing typing, immediately the background process, another execution is happening. That is auto correction and auto saving. So totally when I open a word, three threads are running: correction, typing, and saving. So every task is running parallelly, and that parallel execution within one software is only called as multitasking based on threading right now. So there is a strong mechanism in Java to achieve multitasking using thread based, multi-threading based. This is one benefit. And we have now, like when we say talk about the applications, we can say applications are developed in one operating system, right in one OS, and then run it anywhere. So that means you can develop the code inside a Windows system, but you can run it on any other system, any other operating system. So this is called as platform independent. This feature of Java is making it more famous because it's platform independent. Platform independent means it can run on any operating system, irrespective of where the code was developed. So if the code is developed in Windows, we'll use a compiler in that particular system and compile it. So after compilation is done, whatever code we get, that code is independent now. And that code can run on any operating system. So here just we have to understand that code is written in Java language. Language does not change. Language is same. So whether you're writing the code inside a Linux system, you're writing the code in a Windows system, programming language will not change. Nothing. Not even the libraries will change here. So almost the code written in the same language. Language is same on all operating system. Only thing what is changing here, the compilers. So we have to run on some compiler which is suitable for your operating system. So we have to download Java compiler compatible for your operating system now, your OS. So once you write the code in Java language, you can compile using suitable compiler for your computer, for your operating system. Once the compilation is done, the code is again converted into another level called as Java bytecode. So the initial code what we have written is called as Java source code. So whatever we wrote initially is a Java source code. That's the same irrespective of the operating system. Only thing is we have to compile it using a compiler. In your system, you should have a compiler. So once you compile the code, we'll immediately get a next level of code as Java bytecode. So this is called as the dot class file we say. Basically, this file is generated after compilation. And this code can run on only JVM. So which JVM? Again, it is platform dependent. So we have to install a suitable JVM for your operating system as per your operating system here. So I can simply say the softwares are platform dependent. But other than that, is the language platform dependent? Is the language platform dependent, right?
No, ma'am.
Java language is platform independent.
Yeah.
So other than this, so the Java bytecode, what we got it? Java bytecode after compilation. Is it platform dependent or it is independent? The code which we get after compilation, is it created for a particular operating system or it is common for all?
Common.
Yeah, so it is again independent. So this independent code we can run on any operating system. Only thing what we should have on this on that operating system must have a suitable
JVM.
JVM. That's
JVM.
it. So here we just have to understand that only the Java code is same for all operating system after compilation. Whatever compiler you are using, up to you, depending upon your operating system. It will just generate a code called as Java bytecode. Again, we have to use a software called as an interpreter or called as a JVM. And this JVM is important for us. So our bytecodes are only looking for a software called JVM. It is not checking on which operating system you're running this code. So because of that, the code can be written on any operating system and run on any operating system irrespective of the code right now. So code compilation will generate a common code called as a Java bytecode, and we can run on a JVM, which is already installed in your operating system. So we just have to download suitable compiler, or we say that's called as JDK, the Java Development Kit. We will not just download separately compiler, JVM and everything. We download directly a JDK, which is nothing but Java Development Kit. So there are different versions here for Java software also. So you can manage with Java 8 version or 9 is enough. See, there are 16, 7, they're going on increasing the versions. So every version will have some lot of new chapters included. See, we are just now you're in BTech right now. So what level of code we are going to use is only that 8 version only. Not even 8 version will use completely. So they are adding new features that will be for development level that also nobody will use instantly. So if you learn these features, Java 8 version features also is enough, because before learning Java 8, we should finish the Java 6, or we say Java 5 version chapters, 6 version chapters, 7 version. Then only at the most, if I finish all these topics, I will reach to this. Because in every version, we have to learn basics plus new features which are introduced in this new versions. So whatever is basics, it's common for all the versions. The chapters are same. Data types is same. Arrays are same, strings are same, no changes in those chapters. Interfaces, whatever chapters we are learning, they're all same in the basics. But only thing what is new coming in every feature is some new features will be added in every feature. So, 6 version, what is new we should learn. 7 version, what is new we have to learn. 8 version new, what we have to learn. But before that, what we should finish? All the basic chapters, which are common for all the versions, that we have to finish. So, to learn this only will take some 25 days or something like that. So, after that, we'll be learning the new features of all these things, 25 to 30 days. And then we can, I'll see if you can finish the 8 version also. Maximum features, I'll try to finish, right? So we have to install JDK. So we can directly go to the Oracle Foundation because Java has been now taken by the Oracle Foundation. Previously, it was by Sun Microsystems. Now it is taken by Oracle Foundations. So we have to just go to oracle.com site and there we have to just type download JDK version. So choose JDK 8 version according to your operating system. It may be 32 bits or 64 bit. You can choose that. Okay. So tomorrow I'll first show the installation only and then we'll start with the coding part also. So once you install this kit, download and install kit, along with this kit, what are we going to get is the CXE file. This is nothing but JVM and many more softwares. So every software will do something. This is for compilation. This is for execution of every Java program is done on this software only. And the execution of any graphical programs in Java, some graphical calculators or some notepads. If you want to develop something and run graphical, we have to use a system called as Applet Viewer, which is browser supported. Means some online graphical apps. Apps can be developed using this software. Then we have something called as Java p.exe. This is pre-compiler. That means it will convert the code, compiled code back to Java. So dot class file will be converted back to the dot Java code. So whatever you have converted already through compilation, you can revert it back. So that's called as reverse engineering basically. So we just get the compiled code back to the .java code by using pre-compiler. So like this, we have a lot of other things. So JRE PXE. So that means something like for zipping. Whenever you have written a lot of code, you want to compress it so that we can distribute it, we can download it, send to someone else. So for that, we have some compressing code called as JREs. So all these things are softwares which are given with this kit. Plus, other than these softwares, we'll get libraries. Means the coding, or we say predefined codes of various classes. That means we have in Java only classes actually, classes with lot of functions. So these are libraries. These libraries are basically called as JRE. We can simply say JRE is installed when we download and install JDK. So when I download and install JDK, we get JRE, inside that JVM and compiler. And there are many more things which we'll discuss again. So fine. So almost everything is downloaded and installed when you install which software? JDK. So just we have to download and install JDK software. Everything is available for you with that particular software. So because of JVM, I can simply say this is the reason why it becomes platform independent. So the code of Java becomes independent because of due to the JVM software. The Java programs or the Java apps are platform independent. Right? Is that clear? Any confusion till here?
No, ma'am. Everything is clear.
Fine. So next part would be just like there are many more, like we can develop some very good graphical apps. Anything you imagine, anything graphically which you can imagine, we can develop with Java very easily. Because in Java, we have some softwares like we say IDEs. We can say something like IDEs like NetBeans, generally which will be helping you to write the code in a faster manner. So other than that NetBeans, we have another editor called as Eclipse, which famously like popularly used in all the companies. But a lot of tools are provided in this software. So when you install this editor called as NetBeans, it'll help you to develop graphical apps in no minutes. Like within 1 minute, you can develop an app. You can drag and drop some pages by which you can get a graphical app, which you can immediately write a code. Within few minutes, you can finish an application. Otherwise, if I'm not using this IDEs, the coding will be hard. I can take a notepad and start typing the code in that. But everything in that we have to think about manually and type it. But if you download and install such softwares, it'll help you to code because before you type something, it'll give you the code automatically on the editors. So we can develop very good graphical. Just think that if you want to develop a chess, we can write that. Graphical page is easy, but actual coding is what that logic part. So that logic will take more coding part. Designing is easy. So the designing part of the graphical apps, you can just imagine whatever you want and you can develop just by dragging and dropping system. Right? So graphical apps are very rich in that. Next thing is database. So have you heard about databases anywhere? It stores the
C++,
data. C++ will not.
DBMS.
Yeah, DBMS. We talk about something like DBMS. So that means database management system. See, when you talk about your college data is somewhere in college servers. Somewhere they are maintaining your data, your marks, your semester marks, your certificates, everything is stored. Means in real life, data is more important. So complete apps, whichever apps you're developing, they are revolving around what? Data only. So whichever data we are going to store, see if I'm just a Gmail user, all my data, my inboxes, whatever we have, it's somewhere in the servers. So many years of data is somewhere saved in the servers. And what we are going to use that data using an application. So application is just a medium to interact with the underlying data. So somewhere they would have stored the data. So generally the data will be stored inside a software called as database servers. Just like Excel sheet. Excel sheet is a software to collect a lot of data, but that is one limited set of data only. Unlimited data, we can store thousands, crores, or millions of people's data. Lot of data, we can store it inside softwares like database servers, like Oracle Server. Microsoft companies have developed Microsoft SQL Server, or we have something like Sybase. So a lot of softwares are developed using various foundations. So all these things are only revolving around what? Data storage only. So they'll help you to maintain your data internally. Like all the trains details are there in train application server. So that means database server will maintain your data. To get the data, we have to develop apps. Apps are developed just to bring the data from the servers back. So these apps are developed using which languages now? Like using Java or Python or what is it, .NET or C++, but not C. C is like little bit difficult to do with that. So we have a lot of other languages also which will deal with database interaction. So in Java, we have a strong library which will help you to code connectivity with database. Means Java is a different software, database is a different software. So in Java, we have JDBC concept. That means you just talk about like a Java database connectivity. It's not a full form, just the purpose. So inside Java, we have libraries which will help you to connect to that particular software and pull the data out of that software. Because this is the software where we are going to maintain complete data of everyone. So to pull or to insert some data inside this, we are going to use an app developed in a language called Java. So for this, a strong support is there. A lot of libraries are there through which you can do this database interaction. And using Java language, you can develop applications like console-based. Means non-graphical. Just like DOS related. Please enter your name. So typing a text, then you enter a name, then you enter your marks. So just like a textual based, just like DOS system. Second thing, you can develop a desktop application. Means a graphical apps. So any application we can develop in non-graphical and graphical, but preferred is desktop application. So for this, these two applications, we can call it as standard library applications. So we say we can develop these two applications with libraries called as standard libraries. We don't need advanced libraries to develop these kind of applications. So these are basic applications. But other than this, using Java language, we can develop something related to businesses, which are called as enterprise applications. So for this, separate libraries are there. So these are the basic app libraries which are downloaded and installed with your JDK only. Just by downloading the JDK software, already your standard edition libraries are downloaded. You can start using the libraries and develop a console-based application or a desktop application. But using this JDK software or JDK libraries, we can't develop an enterprise edition application, a business related, companies related, or we say something like online application, something which is more important, more complex. So such applications need some extra libraries which are found in something called as Java EE, J2SE, J2EE, we say the enterprise edition. So these applications are for the business oriented. So these are developed with the extra libraries. Now the third type of applications which we can develop is micro editions. So that means micro means which are running on the small devices like tabs or phones. So micro edition applications are for mobile apps or anything which is for the small devices right now. So the libraries used for this will be again different because these libraries are meant for designing small outputs. The pictures should be small, font should be small, the size should be small. So totally we use a different library for this particular edition because it should use completely less memory, less space, and these will not talk about the space usage. So this is talking about the basic usage. This is about the complex usage. This is about the mobile usage, micro edition. So there are three types of versions we can develop, but out of this, we are only going to learn standard edition. We are not going to learn these two because these comes in under the advanced Java. So this topic is called as advanced Java. This is called as the mobile application developed, like Android and all we develop with this particular languages, these particular libraries, right? Any confusion till here?
No, ma'am.
So now, because all of you are the new students, the first step, because before you code tomorrow, from tomorrow we'll start coding also. Today, what you have to do is at least install the Java software. So which software we are going to download right now? JDK. Which version I'm going to download? JDK 8. So on which site we can go and download this particular software now? As I said, you can just type directly Google here. So oracle.com, or it's directly type download the JDK. So you can choose whatever version you like, but I don't prefer to use the new versions because you'll get a limitation. You don't have to see ocean because if you see big ocean, you can't do anything. Limit your resources. So only download the 8 version today and try to install it. So for this, you just have to download, and here we have to select which version or which operating system you have. If it's Linux, select among them. MacBook, you select among them. Otherwise, if it's Windows, in this is supported for 32 bits. This is for the 64 bits. Whatever is your system, download this same software right now, either 32-bit or 64-bit. Clear? So once you download this, you have an exe file in your system. So that I'll just show.
Windows into 64 we need to download, ma'am, or
Yes. No. This is for 64-bit. Yeah, I think yours is 64-bit operating system.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to download this part.
64.
Right? 64.
Yes, okay.
You can download 32 also, but it's not preferred because when you have better option, why to go for 32?
Yeah.
See, 32, 64 difference is 32 will carry less data. The transfer of data will be less, only 4 bytes of data at a time. But 64-bit can transfer 8 bytes data at a time. So that transfer rate will be faster here, right?
It is asking
So
Oracle login.
yeah, you have to create an account, or else if you want, I'll pass in the group. I'll be adding your names in the group right now. I can pass the exe to you. Or else, if you don't have an Oracle account, create an account, register in that, and then you can log in and download. It's not any purchase license. It's a free software only,
Okay.
right? So you'll get something like this. Once you download this kind of a application, jar file will get it. So we can just click on it and just say next, next, next once it is asking for installation steps.
Okay.
So it just starts step by step, nothing more here. Click on yes. So the whole kit is installed, downloaded and installed in your system. Yeah. So it is asking, you can see here standard edition. We are not installing enterprise or micro edition. And it's which version here? 8 version updated 7.3. We can just say yes here. So it's already installed, same version. So there is nothing but actually just we have to click on yes. And then the next step will be like clicking on next, next, and we have to complete. Nothing we have to type there. Whatever next buttons are shown there, we just have to click on the next buttons on that. And once you have to, at last, we have to click on complete for finish. That finish button will come there. Then it's totally closed. So it's just preparing to install. It'll proceed to the next step. One by one, it'll finish. So once you install, because it's already there in my system actually. So this will show you step by step in this manner. Step by step, you can click on next and go to the next steps. So do you have in your system, it's installed for all the 3 of you?
No, I'm doing it.
Okay, so today you can finish it off. Have you now logged into the Oracle site?
Yeah.
Okay. What about others? Sharon
Even
and
I,
Abhi? Okay.
I am installing. Got
Okay.
installed.
What about Abhiram? Is it Abhi or Abhiram?
Piramid.
Okay, Abhiram. So is it downloaded?
I got a page like saying JDK 16 documentation.
16 is not required. Don't go for 16. Go for 8. Otherwise, type in Google JDK 8. Download JDK 8. 16 is a very advanced version. We will never look into those chapters only. because by the time I finish Java 7 only, it will take a lot of time. Java 8 again has lot of chapters, lot of libraries. Because by the time I finish 6 and 7, you'll come to one level. And after that, I'll just start introduction of 8 and then you can learn on your own, complete 8 version. 9 has new topics, 10 has new topics. So everything will take time. It will take 6 months. Then if I have to teach complete Java 16, JDK 16 if I have to teach. So this procedure you will be able to do.
Yeah.
Just check both of all the three of you. So I'll just show you the installed folder. See, once the installation is completed, it will finish actually after within 2 minutes. So once it's completed, you can check is it installed in the C drive or not in your program folder. This is for the 32-bit softwares. This is for the 64-bit. Inside this folder, you'll find the Java software. So whatever software you have installed, you'll get only one. See, I have installed twice now. It's showing 2 times right now. So you'll open this particular folder, you'll find a folder called as bin. Open this folder and you'll see all the softwares here, exe files, executable files. This is Java compiler. This is Java documentation creator. This is JVM. This is jar creator, applet viewer. So like this, we'll be using a lot of softwares here. But we are only going to deal with these three softwares: JVM, compiler, applet viewer, and if you're interested, you can go for this pre-compiler and jar creator and document creator. But I'll be teaching initially these three only: Java, JVC, and the applet viewer, right? So once you install, go and open this path and check this location of the softwares. Copy this location because you have installed it as a new software in your operating system and your operating system is not aware about this software location. So I want to save this location of your Java compiler and exe in your system's properties. In your operating system, there is a variable called path where every software's path will be saved generally, automatically, but not these Java softwares. So whichever software which we want to run on DOS command, see, generally, whichever is a software exe file, we can run that exe files on the DOS system, on the DOS command prompt. So if I type some software name, it will automatically run here. If I type calculator, automatically it will run, sorry. Okay, it's not recognized. Okay, this is the exe name of calculator. So just we have installed, we did not install this like an external software. It was installed along with operating system. So its path is already saved in the operating system. Because of that, what happened is we are able to run it on through the command prompt also. So just open a command prompt and type any software name here. It will get executed only if it's known to the operating system. So once you have downloaded Java software, initially it will not be known to your operating system. So what we have to do is save its path. What is the path where it is saved? Copy that path and we have to save it in your system properties. In that properties, we want to move to the advanced system settings. Here we have a property called as environment variables. In that, system variables. In your operating system, some variables are created. Click on the path variable. And here we have to create a new path where you can save your Java path. So wherever your Java softwares are there, we are going to save that path here and say OK and come out. Once you did this, you can close all the windows, whatever we have opened. including command prompt. This is already installed successfully. I'm closing this window. Now to run the Java software. That means you want to check is it there installed in your system or not, saved in your path or not. Open the command and just type the exe name. So there were two exes installed we were interested on. JavaC was one software. This is recognized and another is JVM. Both are recognized here. So that means already we have installed and already saved their path into the system properties called environment variable path variable, right? Is that clear? So once you're done, your environment is ready in which you can start typing your Java code and compile and run it. I'm just closing the command prompt. And here, after installation, the next step was what? We have to just set the operating system's path variable to the Java exe's locations. So we have to copy the path of Java software which was installed in which drive? JDK. Inside that, sorry, Java JDK, and here we have a bin directory. So copy this path and we have to go to your system properties. Right click on system, you'll get properties. In that we can get advanced system settings. In that we'll get a environment variables. And that will get a system properties. And that will you have to choose a path variable and paste the path here. The Java path here. So once you have saved it, you can check is it saved or not. Open the command and here you can just type Java or JavaC. It'll recognize. If it's still an error, means your path is not saved properly. Fine. Till here, any confusion? Is that clear?
Ma'am, I'm not getting that verification email. I can't.
Verification, sorry. Which one? That Oracle one?
Yes, ma'am. I'm unable to
Okay.
download it.
I'll forward in the WhatsApp group now. After the class, you can install it. I'll just forward the exe to you.
Okay.
Right? You have to
Yes.
register properly. I think you didn't register properly, maybe. No issues. You want the software, I'll forward to you. Okay? Others, any doubts till here? How to download and how to install and how to save the path? Is everyone clear with these steps till here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I'll just show a small program of execution because details I'll explain tomorrow only. So simple, I'll just open a new notepad. And now in this, I'm just trying to write a basic program structure of a Java. So in Java, we will write only classes. Now, what is this class and all? I'll discuss tomorrow. Every keyword I'll explain there. I'm giving the name to my program of Java as test program. And every program execution begins from a function called as a main, including C language. So here, every coding we have to wrap it inside class only. And every coding begins from a main function. And the main function is somewhat special. It uses some extra keywords like public, static, void, main, and in the brackets, we are using something like string, args, square brackets, and then curly braces. I'll explain tomorrow all these things, why we are writing all these things. Just I want to show a basic Java program today and how to compile and how to execute. So this is like always we have to write like this. And once we write this, if I have to print anything using Java language, we have to choose object orientation again. So we will use operating system whose name is system here in Java language. We'll use a monitor. I want to print on the monitor on your system. So system dot out dot on this particular console, we want to do print a line of text. So the function name is println. Again, I'll explain tomorrow also. Just I'm giving briefly. System, inside system a console. On that console, we want to do print. And what we want to print? A text message. A text is always called in Java as a string message. So string is always represented in double quotations. So this is called as a string literal or a string information. So here I can just say any message in a string form. Once we have written this, we can just save this whole code in this particular file in a with a Java extension. So now you can save it anywhere you like. Now I'm just creating a new folder, and inside that I'm just saving this program with the same name as my class name. You can do anything, but I'm just giving the same name, test.java, and I'm saving here inside this folder. You can see the path. In E drive, I created a folder called crjv21, and inside that I'm saving this file. Now I'm closing everything. Now where is my file? I just want to compile and run this file using command prompt. So on the command prompt, when I opened, I'm in which drive? C drive. But my program is not in this drive. It is in which drive?
E.
E drive. So just type the drive name and the colon symbol and press enter. So your path is already changed. Now we have to move back from E drive to which drive? It's not in the E drive directly. It is created in a folder. So what was the folder name? CRJV21. But I have to enter inside this folder. So for that, there is a DOS command called as CD. CD means change a directory to this particular directory. So once we type and press enter, we are going to move into the directory. So now we are inside this directory. Now, if you want to check what is there inside this folder, because we can't see on the DOS. So we have a DOS command called as dir, which will show you the list of information which is found in this particular folder. So it will give all the details of it. But what we are interested is, what are the files found in this particular folder? So in this file, in this folder, we have only one Java file, test.java. So we are in the correct location only. So now we have to compile this code using a compiler. So I'm calling a compiler. It's running. It's available in your system. So I will call the compiler and tell it to compile which file? Test.java file. So we have to pass the complete name of the file along with the extension. So once we do that, if there is no error in that only, it will compile successfully. If you want to check the directory once again, we will check what is there inside that. Now we can see we wrote this particular file, but this is the second one which is created automatically, generated automatically. So this is called as Java bytecode. So whenever you write a coding in your program, how many classes you have written, that many dot class file will be generated. It's not dependent on the file. File is single, but inside one single file, you can write as many classes as you like. So once you compile the file, every class is separated into a separate dot class file, and we'll get that many dot class files. But now what is important here is which is the class which consists of a main function. So that is the class which is only going to execute here. So now for executions, we need another software called as JVM. So to call the JVM, we have to type Java. So java.exe is the name of JVM. So we are calling JVM and we want to run which class file? Now we can run only this, not this part. So already translation is done. Now we have to just tell the name of the class which you want to run without an extension. So just press that and press enter. Now whatever is there inside the code, we get an output of this, right? Any confusion till here? I'll just type the steps here anyhow. So we just write, compile, and run a Java code. So first step is take a file, write a Java class program inside a file, some editor, any editor, and save it as some name, file name. I can just give some test. I'm just giving it as, or any name you like. But extension is important here. In any drive you like, in any drive or any folder. Whatever your location is up to you. Second thing is to compile it. Use command prompt. So on command prompt, we have to type change to the direct drive right now. So first type to change to the drive right now, the correct drive. Then we can say CD, the folder name, whatever is the folder. So in our case, we had CRJV21 patch. So this I just type so that our path will automatically change to E drive CRJV21. We'll be inside this particular folder. So once we are into the correct location, so we have to now call the compiler and tell it to compile the particular Java file by typing this statement. So it will automatically convert, or we say compile, simply saying compile the code and generate a bytecode, a Java bytecode. That is nothing but a dot class file. So this will be done automatically, by which we'll get which class file? Test class file. Now what we have to do is, third is to run the code. Now we can start running the dot class file on JVM. So the JVM execution is nothing but java.exe file. So for that, we have to run JVM and pass the class file name without any extension. So here, no extension required. So we'll just get the output on the screen. Okay, so we'll get an output immediately on the screen. Is that right? Or any confusion till here? So tomorrow again we'll see execution. See, every day practically we'll focus more, but theory is important. Then only practicals will become easy. Without theory, practicals is not possible. And I will not teach without practicals for sure. Everything I'll execute and show you on the system. Fine. Any doubts in today's session for you? I'll be giving textbooks, materials, everything in the group. So today I'll be adding in a group and send you all the information, materials. Fine? Okay. Any doubts from your side? You can clarify today or tomorrow also before the starting the class.
Okay.
Right? So for today, any doubts? Software I'll send. I'll send the software in the WhatsApp group.
Okay.
You can download and install. And if you want, you can try this program execution also.
Okay, ma'am. You're sending this recording link, ma'am?
Yeah, recording. I'll upload in the YouTube. It will take some 10 to 15 minutes. And I'll send the link. So I'll be generating for your group one YouTube, playlist.
Okay.
Fine? So you can check the videos there.
Yes, ma'am.
And please try to share to as many people as you like, because at least they'll learn something.
Yeah.
I'm uploading other languages also there. Python. You can check in TechLearn Solutions YouTube channel is there. Anything like C also, interview questions. I'll be now trying to create a lot of links there. So like only interview important questions in C. Some topics you can learn directly there. Okay. So try to share to any number of people you like at least. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.